I detest filing papers. The paperwork given, with great haste of course, to us employees by our boss could be used to burn a bonfire for years. Years, I tell you. Of course, I'm usually the last one at the office filing them. Sorry, Jim, but it's my turn to babysit the kids tonight. Would you mind taking this? Hey, Mr. Knapp, sorry to bother you, but could you take these papers? The boys and I are going out to the bar tonight. Fridays, you know. And so, an underpaid, overworked, unmarried, social recluse like myself gets the brunt of the paperwork. Which is why I'm here in my office building at 10:47 at night to file papers. Of course, there are benefits to this job. The hazy feeling that comes with too little or a total lack of sleep can help to numb my thoughts and feelings, which is always a plus. After filing my last 5 papers, all of which were left by Mr. Jones, who was too busy eating donuts and drinking coffee to organize them, thereby leaving them in a pile on my desk for me to sort, I decided to catch up on local news by reading the town newspaper, the title of which read, 2 children missing, 3 found dead in Langsford. For some, this headline probably would have been taken with great surprise. Kids missing here. Why, this town is so small and rural. It's surrounded by a wooded forest. There aren't any child snatchers here. And to which I would agree. However, I take this headline with no surprise, nor the warning. Graphic images below. Please exact viewer discretion. Caption below it. In this town, which was constructed in 1823 by fur trappers looking to make a bargain on hides from their kills, strange things can happen. I'm not saying that every time a black cat crosses your path on a Sunday, then your great-grandfather's cousin, twice removed, will die at midnight. But I've seen things that can't be explained by solar wind or flashing lights. There's something in this town. Something old. Something malevolent. This is the 5th time that I've seen an article like this in the local newspaper that was left unexplained by professional detectives. And then a click. I immediately stood up. And despite the pouring rain outside, I could still hear the noise. David left at 5 p.m. He said that he would be back later tonight to help clean up some of the paperwork that we had been using. I laid the newspaper on the table. After taking a sip from my coffee, I went to greet Dave, for I had heard the lock click open. However, after swinging open the oversized oak door, the hallway beyond revealed nothing but dreary yellow drywall and several octagonal ceiling lights, which I had found to be unique to this office building. Dave, hey, you there? I just got done filing the papers, but thanks for showing up. Nothing. I guess the noise was just in my head. However, the second that I turned around, all I could see was hell. Every single paper in the entire room was scattered all over the floors and tables. The old filing cabinets were all open, with many having been ripped out entirely and thrown on the floor. There were several papers still floating down to the ground in midair. When I approached my desk, I realized that my chair was ripped apart, with the foam stuffing inside having exploded outward through the cracks, and which was now laying on the floor around my cubicle. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't shaken. My heart was pounding and my breathing was quick and heavy. I felt almost lightheaded. Not knowing what had happened, I decided not to think too much about it as I had tried to clean up the office, a scowl still on my face. I was picking up the last of the papers when the power went out, and the office was flooded in darkness. Dang it! And then a click. Originally, I thought that the click may have been due to a clock turning off, but I then registered that there are no clocks in my office, barring the massive black analog clock on the far wall, which runs on battery power. This led me to further pondering as to the source of the mysterious noise, which was a fruitless search. I decided to rummage around inside of my desk for the battery-powered lantern, which I soon located and used to find my way through the dark office building to leave for the day. Once outside, my plastic 3-ring binder provided some relief from the rain, once held over my head, for I didn't have an umbrella. Fumbling nervously in my pocket for my keys, I got in my vehicle, which was parked in the employees' parking section. It's ironic that they devoted an entire section of the parking lot to employees, given how frequently that the only worker here is me. I started my automobile and I pulled out of the lot. My office, which was close to the edge of town, is about a 7 or 8 mile drive from my house. To get home, I have to take an old road that winds around the forest to the northwest side of town. The road goes uphill towards the northeast before it loops around to the west, where you can look south off a steep embankment and see all of the glittering lights in the residential part of town. I take this road every day going to and from work. About halfway to my house, my phone buzzed inside of my cup holder. 3 local store clerks found dead in a back alley. The reason for death appeared to be extreme blood loss. I sighed. It seemed like every week there were more and more deaths that could not be traced back to a killer. I set my phone down as I focused my attention on the road. I had the windshield wipers on, but they did little to increase the visibility of the road in front of me. I was blindly following the lights of my headlights through the rain. Click. The sound was fully audible, and I could hear it extremely clearly. It was the same sound as before, but this time, instead of sounding like someone clicking their tongue, it was a piercingly, almost gratingly loud snap. I could hear it coming from behind my car. I looked off to my left, yet I could not discern if there was anything down the embankment that could have caused such a noise. The same foreboding feeling that I had felt at the office washed over me as I began to sweat profusely. I wiped my forehead and I checked the rearview mirror, but I couldn't make out if there was anything there through the heavy rain. Upon returning my gaze to the windshield, I screamed and I slammed on the brakes as I turned sharply to the side. Standing in the middle of the road, amidst the pouring rain, was a shadowy figure. It was walking swiftly towards me, with its arms pointing down, erect by its sides. Whoever was in the road was completely indiscernible. I couldn't make out any identifying features, for the only thing visible was a dark body. My heart was pounding. Hitting the person standing in the road with my car at this speed would almost certainly kill them, hence my drastic response. Unfortunately for myself, I had skidded too fast, and the moment that I lost control of the car's movement, the realization flooded me that my car had hydroplaned on the thick stream of water resting on top of the road. I cursed loudly and frantically tried to regain control of my car, as I realized that I was moving swiftly towards the embankment. A fall from that height in this car would smash the windshield through my head, ending me instantly. In seconds, the vehicle reached the embankment, and I could feel the deep groan as the back 2 wheels lifted off the ground, and the front 2 hit mud. The sheer force of the car rolling down the hill was almost too much for the friction of the front wheels, and in mere moments, I would be dead. No! I set the car in reverse and floored it. The slap of the back 2 wheels on the pavement echoed as the front wheel drive struggled to push the entire weight of the vehicle back up onto the road. Slowly, methodically, my car got pushed back up. After what felt like years, I could feel the car roll back onto the road. Panting, I forced my shaking hand to put the car in drive, ready to put this strange night behind me. I looked up at the road to see if the man was okay, and I froze. The man was gone. The hair on my arms stood up on end as my skin began perspiring. Darting my head around behind me, I realized that he wasn't even on the road. I felt like I was going to puke. It wasn't possible for a human being to have gotten off the narrow path, with a steep embankment down one side and bluffs on the other, in such a short period. Suddenly, it became clear to me. This wasn't a human. And then the clicking again. Something hit the back of my car bumper, making my car grow far heavier as if something impossibly strong was gripping it and digging their heels into the ground. Not prepared to see what was behind my car, I instead floored the gas pedal. The weight instantly lifted off my car as it sped along the shadowy road, still slick with the rain pouring from the sky. I could hear my heart pounding in my skull. The trees to the left and right of the road seemed to grow taller and taller, thicker and thicker, as I approached the lonely piece of property I dared to call my home. This can't be real. There's no way this can be real. This can't be real. And then the clicking again. Soon, my house came into view. A large building with 2 stories. It had off-white siding and a mortar archway near the entrance. The roofing had an exceptionally steep slant to it, making the structure look like it was made in the Victorian era. It didn't help that the house was nearly 50 years old. The lady that had owned it before me had passed away, and since she had no children, I had bought it for far less than what it was worth. I began deeply regretting that decision as the clicking upped in intensity. Upon reaching the front drive, I kicked the car door open and sprinted, faster than my scrawny legs had ever carried me to my front porch. I fumbled my keys as I tried to get the door open. The clicking was deafening now. Tears were beginning to form at the corners of my eyes, but it was impossible to tell the difference between them and the rain, which was coming down harder and faster than I had ever seen rain fall. Almost on cue, the lock opened and I fell onto my barren patio floor. The clicking continued. I went to the old 12-gauge shotgun that was in my bedroom. I could barely feel my feet on the shag carpet as I raced to grab the shotgun. Once at my door, I grabbed at the handle and put all of the force within my legs into dashing into my room, before kicking the door closed and locking it. The shotgun was always inside of the tiny half closet on the top shelf. Having only one full magazine of shells, I loaded 4 and fired at my doorway. The sound of the shotgun firing was glorious to my ears. It provided some relief from the incessant and malevolent clicking that seemed to be emanating from the walls. I closed my eyes, tears now streaming down my face. I collapsed onto the back wall in horror as I racked the shotgun again and fired. Yet more relief from the clicking came from the gun. I didn't want to go, not yet. Still having 2 shells, I loaded the shotgun and I fired again. I held my eyes tightly closed. If they were closed tightly enough, I could almost pretend that the sobbing, defeated man, quartered in his own home, wasn't about to die. The last shot echoed through my quiet house. All but the rain, which could now only be heard as a drizzle, had gone silent. I realized that the clicking had stopped at some point when I was firing my shotgun. After what felt like ages, I decided to open my eyes. The door in front of me had a massive hole blown in it. The wood on the edges was splintered outwards, and I could see several pieces of oak splayed out across the ground in the hallway beyond. A bit of the buckshot had hit the drywall, thoroughly ripping it apart and exposing the wood underneath. I waited for my swift and sudden demise, but none came. Minutes turned into hours that I spent waiting at the back of my room, panting, waiting for my death. It wasn't until hours after the sun rose in the morning that I decided to leave my room. In the hallway outside, I could see the extent of the damage. The buckshot had sprayed splinters out into the hallway beyond, which were sticking out of the drywall. Not only that, however, but there was a black, stringy substance sticking to the wall, which looked almost like lint. I immediately bristled upon seeing this. Whatever had attacked me, it had not only been real, but it had been real enough to be injured by the shotgun. It wasn't dead, however. It was still out there. Unwilling to focus on such a disturbing thought, I decided to go down to the kitchen and call a carpenter for the door. 47 days ago, the clique fled from my residence, having been injured by my shotgun in a last-ditch effort to save my life. But now it was back, and with a vengeance. I had started to hear the clicks again about 2 weeks ago. At first, I thought it was simply trauma. I might flip a paper over in a side of the room, and I would hear the noise when the paper hit the table. A drop of rain might hit the pavement, and I would hear that horrible click when I should have heard nothing at all. Of course, it started getting worse. I began hearing the click in the shower, or on the way to work. It seemed to be under every unturned leaf and inside every dark room. After investigating, however, I would never find the creature. Without fail, it would always leave without a trace. The noises became worse and worse over the course of about a week, until today. At exactly 10:47 p.m. tonight, my office phone rang. I was completely alone. It was Monday, and as was my coworker's custom, everyone else was out at the bar to get drunk, except for Dave, who was probably getting high with his friends at his house. Even the ringing of the phone sent chills down my spine. After it rang the second time, I peeked over at the device from across my neat office. I had finally gotten a new chair and reorganized all of my papers, which had taken me all weekend. The beige device sat menacingly upright on the far right side of my desk. My home phone number showed up on the screen. Upon ringing a third time, I reluctantly answered the phone. "Hello, who is this?" Click. I immediately slammed the phone back down in its holder and I rose from my desk. The sound had come from the other line. It was inside my house. I'm writing this now on my desktop computer so that my pitiful story can be heard, so that I won't be forgotten. After having answered the phone, I had immediately locked the door to my office and propped up a chair behind it. I even went so far as to break out the fire extinguisher so that I could have a weapon to defend myself, even though I had no firearm this time. It was as I ran over to close the blinds that I saw them. Several inky black figures covered the landscape in the shadowed parking lot outside of the office. Each one of them looked vaguely humanoid, but they were far too elongated to even suggest that it might be a person. There were dozens of them, and all of them had their heads turned towards me. I had been hearing clicking coming from the hallway outside of my office for the past 10 minutes. It is incessant, and the noise appears to be coming from multiple sources at once. They had been banging on the door for a while now. It started as a light knock, but now the slamming is rocking the entire floor. I can see the hinges warping with the force of the blows. If you hear a faint clicking noise in the middle of the night, it could just be the lock turning on a door, or the pop of a knuckle cracking. It's what you choose to believe. But I know that they're coming. For all of us. My time is up. Run while you still have any.